I've been shooting with the Leica Q2 for over a year now, and if I was to go Facebook official with it, I'd label our relationship as complicated. It's one of my all-time favorite cameras to shoot with, and there are many things about it that I love. But it also has a handful of quirks that drive me absolutely insane. So when Leica released the Q3, I was intrigued to see if they'd fixed my many issues. Well, I've been shooting with the Leica Q3 extensively for over a month now, and to my delight, many of the issues have been solved. However, there are still a few glaring concerns. So it begs the question, is it actually worth it? Let's get into it. I know a lot of other reviews of this camera on YouTube are limited to just first impressions, but we're going to dive deep into the nitty-gritty here. I want to talk about the things that they've fixed versus the Q2, but then we'll dive into the things that are still driving me crazy about this camera. Let's start with the subtle one, the ergonomics. At a glance, the Q3 looks almost identical to the Q2, but what's changed is a few of the button positions. Rather than having menu, function, and play buttons on the left, they've moved all of those over to the right. This is a small change, but actually makes quite a difference because it places everything within thumb's reach on one side of the camera. That means that you can operate just about everything with one hand, and being a small point and shoot that you're carrying around with you every day, this comes in handy loads of times to fire off a quick shot. They've also added a tilting screen. Admittedly, this isn't something that I thought was necessary, but I'll say that it's one of the best quality tilting screens I've ever used. It's hard to describe it over video, but I'm pretty sure you could drop this thing straight onto the open screen and it'd be just fine. That said, it frustrates me to no end that there's no ability to open the screen from the left side like every other tilt screen. You can only do so from the top and the bottom. And hey, just a reminder that at the bottom of the screen that you're looking at right now is the subscribe button. Go ahead and take a look and make sure you haven't already tapped it. While we're on the topic of screens, the quality of the screen in EVF have vastly improved. Both the screen and the EVF on the Q2 were incredibly dated from a resolution standpoint. I believe they've upped the resolution of the EVF from 3.6 million dots to 5.7 million, and then the LCD screen has gone from 1 million to 1.8 million. One thing not many people mention about the Q2 was that the two screens, the EVF and the back screen, were not calibrated the same. The EVF has sort of a warm tone to it, whereas the LCD screen is cooler and almost a little bit green shifted in comparison. Thankfully, this has been fixed with the Q3. But there is still one major screen-related issue, and more on that in a second. Over the last month with the Q3, I'd say one of the biggest improvements has been the speed of the camera. The Q2 was plagued with a few speed-related issues. First, the RAW files were insanely large at 85 megabytes each. But with the Q3, they've somehow reduced that file size to, I think, 72 megabytes, despite increasing the resolution from 47 to 60 megapixels. The other issue with the Q2 was that it used the Maestro 2 processor. This was the same processor that was in the original Leica Q, which was released all the way back in 2015, and it simply wasn't up to the task of dealing with those massive files on the Q2. This leads to a lot of buffering, limiting your frames per second to really short bursts, and then even just reviewing your photos takes much longer than it should on any modern camera. The Q3, on the other hand, makes use of Leica's newer Maestro 4 processor, the same processor in the Leica M11. Not only does this make file handling a lot faster, but it also helps to power the new hybrid phase and contrast detect autofocus, which is much snappier. You can track subjects, and while it's by no means on the level of Sony's autofocus, it drastically improves on the autofocus experience, even if it still randomly detects faces in bushes and stuff like that from time to time. Now, even though the Q3's file sizes are a bit smaller, they're still 72 megabytes, and when you're cranking out that new higher burst rate, you're gonna be taking a lot of images. So you're gonna need a fast and reliable SSD for storage and editing, which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, Lexar Memory. Their new NVMe portable SSD has blazing fast speeds of up to 2,000 megabytes read and write speed, which is actually insane. This is like double the speed of most of the popular SSDs out there. It's a 1 terabyte drive housed in a super sleek aluminum closure, so you're able to store and edit all those delicious Leica images and the vastly improved video files from the Q3 directly from the drive as well. They've even got a bundle available right now at an incredible deal, so check the link in the description, and a huge thanks to Lexar for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so the Leica Q2 was actually pretty trash when it comes to low light. Historically, I think most people make that statement due to just the higher megapixel count and also how poorly the Q2 handles higher ISOs. But there's a sneaky issue that I've still yet to see anyone on YouTube mention about the Q2. For some god-unknown reason, Leica has completely crippled the Q2's extreme low light capabilities. Despite being listed as having a shutter speed of up to 60 seconds, if you crank the ISO higher, the camera actually puts an artificial limiter on the shutter speed. For instance, if you set your ISO to 6400, your shutter speed won't increase past 4 seconds. I know most folks aren't buying this camera for it, but with this nice, beautiful f1.7 aperture Summilux lens, it would actually make a pretty solid astro camera. But no, Leica puts this weird limit on it for seemingly no reason other than Leica thinks that it makes the image look bad. Well, the good news is the Q3 has fixed this silly little setting, and you're actually able to control the full exposure triangle. You know, something that's available on like a Canon Rebel. The Q3 also seems to handle normal low light scenarios much better as well, even despite having a higher megapixel count, which is contrary to kind of the traditional convention. I'm also a huge fan of the small changes that Leica has made to the charging of the camera. First, they pulled an Apple and added USB-C charging. This makes a ton of sense. When I'm traveling, I always have a USB-C cable with me, so being able to charge it without bringing the battery charger that's like a third the size of the camera itself is a huge win. They also have the wireless charging thing, which seems super awesome, but admittedly, I haven't used it. More importantly, however, they reduced the price of the battery. Rather than the absurd $287 price point, it's instead $170, which is still about $100 too expensive, but heck, that's Leica, baby. The newer, cheaper battery also is compatible with the Q2, and your overpriced Q2 batteries are compatible with the Q3, unless you want to film in the new 8K resolution, because for some reason that's not allowed with the older battery. But let's talk about video, because I have a lot of thoughts here. The video on the Q2 was honestly a bit of an afterthought, and I kind of get it. Leica isn't known for video, and I know most people aren't buying these cameras for video, but the Leica Q3 makes some massive improvements. In my opinion, I think the 8K thing is a little bit of overrated marketing tactic. I'll take a high quality 10-bit 422 4K image over 8K 8-bit any day. Luckily for me, Leica has included that. 4K 10-bit at up to 60 frames per second with no crop. And they added L-Log. For my personal style of shooting, this makes a huge difference to me. For me, the Q2 has always been my bring it everywhere camera. Mostly for photos, but I've always loved having short little clips for moments that matter or moments that I might want to use in a future video later that I maybe didn't anticipate when I decided to leave the FX3 at home. The Q2 can capture a quick clip, but honestly, it was super difficult to get a shot in focus. It lacked any color gradability, and the image stabilization was horrific. So I never really used it. But now with the Q3's video, it's actually pretty stable. You can color grade it nicely, and the autofocus, while it isn't perfect, it's usable. I found that it struggles anytime you want to shift focus, but if you've got a nice basic shot, it works. That said, video is still one area where I'd like to point out the Q3's shortcomings. The marketing for this camera is a little bit disingenuous. I think it gives people the wrong idea. Make no mistake, if video is a priority, this camera is still not for you. There's no ability to connect audio, even a headphone jack, and as mentioned, the video autofocus simply is not up to par with modern mirrorless cameras either. So like anytime you're shifting focus, it'll hunt back and forth for the subject, so you're certainly not going to pull off a nice smooth focus rack here. My next gripe is the lens, which I know is kind of blasphemous. However, if you've seen my review of the Leica Q2, you know that my gripe with this legendary Summilux lens is that despite being billed as a 28mm, it's actually a 24mm. I've compared it to multiple other 24mm lenses, and the field of view is the same. Now, you could argue that having a wider lens might be better since you can always crop in with those extra megapixels, but I just want to point out that if you are truly a fan of 28mm, this doesn't actually shoot like a 28mm. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't actually expect Leica to fix this. I knew it was going to be the exact same lens, but I know a lot of folks would love to have a 35 or a 50mm version of this camera. I'd also love to see Leica try this out if there was like a Leica Q4 perhaps. One thing I did expect them to fix, however, is the exposure bar. You know, that little light meter that comes up at the bottom of basically every camera. Well, you know what the Leica Q3 still does that drives me up the wall? When viewing on the LCD screen, if you go to press the shutter, either a half press or a full press, that little exposure bar comes up and covers the bottom of the screen. And that little black bar is not transparent enough for you to properly see your composition. Let me tell you, the number of times that I've had this lead to an off-center or a top-heavy image by accident is way too many. The annoying thing is that the EVF doesn't have this problem. There's just an area where that exposure bar always sits, which makes sense. Given that they've completely redesigned the LCD screen, I don't understand why this couldn't have been fixed here also. Well, that's mostly an odd little annoyance that obviously gets me a little bit more worked up than it should. One area that's still a huge bummer is the dynamic range. Leica claims that the Q3 has 14 stops of dynamic range, but in practice, I'm a little skeptical. Anytime you have direct sunlight, heck, even if you have some directional side light, you're in danger of blowing out your highlights. I've tried loads of different things. I've tried swapping to highlight weighted metering. I've dropped down the exposure compensation. I've underexposed. For some reason, the highlights always seem to get blown out or the shadows get unrecoverably dark. I know that the nice contrasty blacks are sort of part of the infamous Leica look, and I've sort of just started learning to deal with that blown out look in post, but I'd really appreciate if this had been fixed in the Q3. All of these things in consideration, the biggest looming specter is value. Is the Q3 actually worth it? For this, I think you have to take into account a few different scenarios. Scenario one, you're paying full price. In my mind, if you're dead set on getting either the Leica Q2 or the Leica Q3 new, I think it's a no-brainer. The Q3 is definitely worth the additional $200 price point for all of the improvements you're getting. But realistically, I don't see any reason why you'd be considering buying the Q2 at full price in today's market. I got my current Q2 used for $3,600, and it's got some bumps and bruises and it was missing the full box, but it's much easier to justify that price. When you're considering that scenario, now all of a sudden the Leica Q3's $6,000 price tag is pretty dang steep. At that point, you've got to ask yourself if the additional $2,000-ish is worth the upgrades. I still view Leica cameras as a luxury more than a tool. So I know that many of you are going to say that Leicas are a waste of money in general. And you're kind of right. Realistically, I think most people are better off taking this opportunity to take a price reduction on the Q2 and run with it. But hey, if some of these improvements are what you've actually been looking for and you can actually get a hold of a Q3, I say go for it. It's a sweet little camera.